We're back now with my colleague Jeff Pegues, who covers the Justice Department and Homeland Security for CBS News. He's got a new book out called Kompromat. That's the Russian term for compromising material about a public figure. And the question of whether Russia held that kind of damaging information about President Trump is one of the questions in this ongoing FBI investigation into his campaign. So with Presidents Trump and Putin set to meet next week, we thought the timing was perfect to talk to you.
Somehow it worked out.
Well, tell us here, because we know the Senate Intelligence Committee came out with the final version of their report saying the intelligence community was right to conclude, as they did, that the Kremlin was trying to harm Hillary Clinton and de facto then also help President Trump win this election. Why does it matter for the president to acknowledge this?
Well, it matters because if you don't have a uniform approach to preventing this from happening during the midterms or the 2020 presidential election, that's a problem. And that's what we've seen, and that's what I report in this book, is that you have this system of trying to hold back these Russian intrusions. However, you know, the states are have a different plan, if you will, from the federal response. And why? Some people that I've talked to say that it's because there's no coordinated response coming from the top. And you need that to hold back what is, some of the people that I've talked to have said, is the Russian army attacking these states. You can't have these states doing this alone. And that's why a lot of people think there has to be this coordinated response with leadership from the top.
And we heard the ambassador to NATO talking about this kind of Russian interference in other countries as well when it comes to our midterm elections. These are just right around the corner. How much concern is there about interference?
Well, this is an ongoing threat, and I think that's one thing that is lost with the Mueller aspect of this investigation, is that this is an ongoing threat, and you hear that from intelligence agencies, you hear that from law enforcement agencies, and anyone trying to protect the election systems in this country. And so you have to have this coordinated response to prevent this from happening again. This is a new form of warfare, something else that I think is lost, which is why I wanted to delve into the subject in this book, Kompromat. This is a new form of warfare. Yes, the Russians have meddled in elections before, but not to this scale, with this cyber influence campaign that is affecting social media, that is affecting so much of what we do. And if you think about it this way, and these are some of the questions that I was asking myself when I started writing this book, if you can influence what Americans think, well, then, of course, you can influence how they vote. And that's why it's so important to find a way to push back against these Russian intrusions.
The president's national security advisor was on this program just last week, and he drew a distinction. He said Vladimir Putin personally told him the Russian state did not carry out the hacking. What's the difference?
Well, there is no secret in cyber circles that some of these countries hire contractors to carry out these cyber operations. Even Vladimir Putin has said in the past that patriotic hackers may have done this, people that he doesn't control. But U.S. intelligence agencies, they laugh in the face of information like that.
Because they say there's very little that Putin doesn't control?
Well, exactly. And that was the case here. This was such a widespread operation. As I said, it's ongoing, that there is no way that it could have happened without Putin's blessing.
I also want to ask you, because I know you're continuing to cover some of the reporting with the ongoing probe. There was an interview on another network with Michael Cohen, a former lawyer and fixer for the president, who's been wrapped up in some of these financial probes. And now there's the question about whether he's going to cooperate with authorities. How do we understand that?
You know, I've spent a lot of time over the last year or so talking to Michael Cohen, and he has lately at least tried to avoid talking to reporters. But what I can tell you is that I've talked to people around him who say that he has been angered by some of the statements that Rudy Giuliani has made about him, questioning his credibility. And what we've seen just in talking to him over the last year or so is that his approach to President Trump and his allies has become much more adversarial. And that is so unusual for Michael Cohen, who liked to consider himself the president's fixer. He was someone who respected the president a great deal. And so to see this change in approach, he's hired new attorneys, Lanny Davis being one of them, who represented President Clinton. So there is a new approach here. And I have been told that he feels sort of isolated from the White House and the president's allies. Now, could that translate into him flipping? We'll just have to see.
We'll be tracking that. Jeff, thank you. Good luck with the book.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.